Hello there.
Hello, everybody. What is up? Welcome to Cantina Social Hour Wednesday night. I am so thrilled to be here on a Wednesday night because we are not going to be here this Friday night as per usual. What is up, everybody? Hello, hello. Hope you are doing well. Hope you are feeling happy. Hope you are feeling in a toy sort of collecting mood. And yeah, I'm glad to be here. I'm glad to be with you guys and really appreciate it. What is up, you guys? It's the holiday season. It is the middle of the week, which means tomorrow's Thursday. Then it's the weekend after Friday. And yeah, anyway. What's up, you guys? So I'm very glad to be here on the penultimate episode of this year. There's only one more episode coming up this year, and that is on Friday next week, December the 20th. Very, very, very last episode of the entire year. And it is going to precede a much needed break because I've been going pretty nonstop this entire year. There's been something like 40 something shows, and I love it. It's fun. It's a blast. You guys make it absolutely incredibly fun. But I need a little bit of a break to kind of recuperate the creative energies and kind of refocus things as we shift through this holiday season into the new year, and kind of have a little bit of a reset. So next Friday, December the 20th, I'm going to have my pal Toy Shiz. If you follow Toy Shiz on Instagram, he's on YouTube. And I've gotten to hang out with him a few times at San Diego Comic-Con. He's great. And I'm excited to have him on the show the very first time. Next Friday, December the 20th at 6:30 p.m. PST, regular time. It's the last episode of the year. After that, we will be coming back. I'm looking at my calendar here. We will be coming back on, tentatively, it'll be Friday, the 17th of January. So we're going to be taking close to a month-ish off in order to refresh things a little bit, to re-energize, recuperate, and be ready to roll in 2025. I can't believe it's already going to be 2025 in just a few short weeks, but here we are. A few other housekeeping things here. If you're ordering on Entertainment Earth, items that are in stock, there's a lot in stock right now. Be sure you're using promo code Victoria. That's going to save you another 10% off your purchase. During this very busy time of year, this holiday season, we need to save every little bit we can because it's a very expensive time of year. We're buying gifts for loved ones, for friends, for people. And if you're like me, then you're probably buying a lot for yourself too. So we need to save every little bit we can. Use that promo code Victoria, just as you see here on your screen. Get you an extra 10% off. Reminder that the album Sounds of the Cantina is now available. You can get it anywhere you buy your music. If you need some a gift for the musical person in your family that likes 80s synthwave music, then maybe they'll enjoy Sounds of the Cantina. So you can pick that up anywhere you download music. You can stream it anywhere you get your music. And I'm very excited for Sounds of the Cantina, but it is now over. The album is out as of Tuesday of last week. As you guys know, we had the whole release party, and it was an absolute blast. But now that that's out of the way, and the album has been released, I've had time to go back and work on some other projects that were kind of falling by the wayside because of the album. And just this morning, we published a brand new episode of the Vintage Collection podcast, episode 27, Return to Tatooine and Beyond, with my pal Toys Are the Way. So anywhere you get your podcasts, that is out already. Be sure to check it out, especially if you're a fan of Star Wars: The Vintage Collection. This is the final season of this show. This is episode 27, 28, 29, 30, and then that's going to be it for this particular show as planned currently. So these are the final episodes of the Vintage Collection podcast for the time being, at least. So definitely check that out. We talk about different Return to Tatooine, right, being the big theme for next year, but also what's going to come after that. What other themes can possibly be done? That's what most of the episode is about. We also talk about the Ghost. We talk about the HasLab Cantina, and things that we'd like to see as far as themes go for the future of the Vintage Collection. So get that wherever you get your podcasts. And then one more thing before we bring in tonight's esteemed guest. Randomals. Do you guys remember this? We talked about Randomals last week. Me and Leo, the 1/6 scale man. You guys remember the Randomals? Like, we were just cracking up the entire time, like really, really cracking up the entire time. Yeah, if you weren't here, if you forgot, these are Randomals. I accidentally somehow discovered them on Amazon the other day. They're hybrid animals, like a horse and a shark and a duck and I don't know, something, an elephant with an ape head. It's crazy. Anyway, we were cracking up about this last Friday, and just how funny these were, right? And then we started talking about, well, what did they made Randomals the movie, and then starring Dwayne Johnson, and then Randomals, the animal crackers, right? Randomal crackers, like just all kinds of weird things, right? Well, update here. I found the owner and CEO of Randomals, and I invited him to come onto the show. So he's game. He's going to be coming onto the show in the next year, probably in January sometime, when we come back from hiatus. But yeah, I found the owner of Randomals, and we're gonna pick his brain. We're gonna get his insight into how Randomals came to be, and I'm really looking forward to that. So stay tuned for that. Just a little sneak peek at something coming next year. All right. So I say let's get this show on the road, you guys. There's some Hasbro Star Wars news. There's some Skeleton Crew, brand new episode, and then some new acquisitions where I'll tell you what I've got. Our guest will tell us what he got, and then you guys will tell us what you got in the chat. So before I bring in our guest, I just want to do a quick run through the comments, see who is with us. We got Adam Kennedy. Adam, our moderator. What's up, Adam? Blue milk and Jawa juice? Absolutely. I'll take either one of those. I'll let you decide. Dodgson, how's it going? Who needs laser swords or blasters when you have the power of the moonwalk? Yes. We got some Captain EO talk coming in just a little bit here. We got Hellrunner Base. How's it going? Good to see you. We got Pico B1 with us. What's up, Chad? How you doing? We got our friend Britt with us. Hey, Britt, good to see you. We got Mary with us. Hey, Mary, good to see you too. I'm so stoked that the crew is here on a Wednesday night. I love it. We got Jason. Hello, Cantinians. Hello, Jason. We got 22. Has anyone had trouble accessing their FedEx? Only asking if it's related to the Ghost House Lab. Yeah, no, not I. But I don't think my Ghost is even shipped. Trevor's with us. Hey, Trevor, good to see you. Cool. Let's see who else. We're off to a really good start here. Really good start. All right, you guys. So let's go ahead and pin that. All right. So we're going to go ahead and bring in tonight's guest, joining us for the very first time on Cantina Social Hour.
I got a really good feeling about this.
All right. Known as Funky Maclunkey on the socials and on Pinterest, we got CJ joining us here in the Cantina. CJ, how's it going?
Hey there. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thank you for coming on.
Thanks for making me follow Randomals. I mean, how do I possibly compete with that absurdity? I love it. That's fantastic.
Isn't it? It's just, yeah, it's great. I'm really excited to talk to the Randomals.
I bet.
Person. Yeah.
Love it.
Yeah. Anyway, so this is your first time, so welcome. We like to keep things positive. We've got a great crew here hanging out with us, and just good vibes, and we're all excited, and we welcome you. And yes, it's your first time in the show. We always like to ask anyone that's coming on for the first time to share a little bit about themselves, their collecting, how they got into collecting, and what their little niche is within this hobby that we like to take part in.
Awesome. Well, I mean, I'm a childhood. I'm a child of the late 70s. I was a Star Wars, He-Man, G.I. Joe, Transformers kid, and really the only thing that I still have all of my childhood collection of is my original vintage Star Wars stuff. And I didn't, of course, have all of it. And so then as I got older, I filled in the gaps, and it just snowballed and got a little bit crazier. And now I have most of what I want, but there's always more, as you know. And then it was around it was guess probably about 4 or 5 years ago, when I was kind of getting to the end of getting all of the vintage stuff, that I discovered the kind of customizing community and started realizing that people were filling in gaps in the collection with customized figures, and started following a bunch of customizers and dabbling in that, and just got really into that. And then probably about 2 or 3 years ago during COVID, I needed a hobby. And so I was like, I'm going to teach myself 3D modeling so that I don't have to do all of this, in the physical realm. And got really into that and 3D printing. And now I'm Funky Maclunkey, and I have a decently successful little side hustle of making custom, mostly Star Wars, but up to this point. But I've dabbled in, I know we're going to talk about Captain EO, but I've done some Beetlejuice stuff like Bill and Ted, Mork and Mindy, stuff like that. So my collecting these days is pretty much just in that little world with a few exceptions. So that's about it.
Awesome, love it. Thank you for sharing that. And
Sure.
yeah, you mentioned a lot of good stuff. So it sounds already like you've got good taste in collectibles. So we love it. And I got to remark on the guitar collection because that's fabulous as well.
Well, thank you. Yeah, I'm a musician first. I've been a musician my whole life. That's my creative outlet for many years and all that. But that didn't really pay all the bills all that well, so I ended up doing other things for a living, and now my main creative outlet is making toys and selling them on the internet. So here we
Nice.
are.
I love it. Yeah, well, that's another thing I can relate to too, because toys and collecting, but then also the music. We just put out this album, Sounds of the Cantina, and I moved to California for music. I was in a punk rock band about a decade back, and
Oh, nice.
it didn't pay the bills, so I feel you there, but it was a blast, and I got to meet a lot of really cool people and play some really cool places. And
Totally. I feel like I lived a lifetime of awesome stories within my music, pseudo career that will carry me through the rest of my life. I mean, you can pack in a lot of insanity in a short period of time if you're playing music in bands and touring and playing houses of ill repute. So it was a good experience.
Yep. Awesome. Well, cool. So we're talking tonight about a few different things. I mentioned, Captain EO is going to be a focus. So you probably noticed I got the colors and the vibe with the graphics for Captain EO tonight.
Dig it.
But we're going to start off with Hasbro Star Wars because there's some news across Hasbro Star Wars this week. And I think you mentioned that as far as Hasbro Star Wars goes, you mostly collect the retro collection. Is that correct?
That's true. Yep.
Okay. So we're going to look at Steve Evans's Instagram because he showed a pipeline just the other day of some upcoming Star Wars retro collection reveals. And these are from the original movie. We got the Rebel Fleet Trooper, Han Solo and Stormtrooper Disguise, Luke Skywalker from Yavin. We got Ponta Baba / Walrus Man, a Sand Trooper, and then Dr. Evazan. So a little smattering across the entirety of the film, I guess you could say. A little bit of Tatooine, but also a little bit of Yavin, Death Star, Tana V4. So yeah, were you excited when you saw these announced the other day?
I'm in love with this. I'm so glad. I love Steve, and I'm glad that he's taking it in this direction. I think I've been one of the if anybody, any of you follow me on Instagram or have seen any of my YouTube videos, I'm pretty vocal about how I think that this should have been the direction of the retro collection from the beginning, rather than focusing on the Disney Plus series. And I've no shade towards the Disney Plus series, but continuing where Kenner left off in 1985 with figures of 5 points of articulation of characters from the original trilogy that we never got figures of. That has always been my preference for this series. And so when you find a Mon Mothma figure in a 6-pack with a bunch of reissues of Kenner figures, I really just wanted the Mon Mothma figure. Same goes with the Grand Moff Tarkin figure and the Snowspeeder Luke figure. So this is exactly what I've been begging for. I'm super pumped about it. The only things that when I saw this that I had questions about is, I assume since there's 6 that it's going to be a box, just like they've been released lately. But it sure would be super awesome if a couple of those guys were released individually for army building purposes for people who are into that. Rebel Fleet Trooper and the Sand Trooper, that would make a lot of sense. And then the second thing is this a Walrus Man? Is it just a repackaging of the original, or is it a more screen accurate Walrus Man? Rumor is that it's just the same old Walrus Man, so that was a bit of a bummer. But I'm willing to let that slide in the interest of getting all of these other ones. So super excited about it overall.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think this is great. When they first started branching out and doing things like from the Mandalorian, the Book of Boba Fett, and Obi-Wan Kenobi, and it was they were novel to see, but I similarly, I tend to appreciate like more of this unmade classic Kenner type stuff. My only concern with it, and I hope that they're gonna do some of these justice, that some of the figures that they do sometimes I feel like they look a little too good. And I'm thinking of like the Phantom Menace figures, like they look a little better than maybe what Kenner might have done. And of course, this is all open interpretation because we really don't know, right? These are all hypothetical figures. Sure. But I hope that they are truly like in the spirit of like 1978 Kenner when they finally bring these out.
That would be ideal. I think that somebody, I had that same conversation with somebody, I can't remember who it was, and what they said was that the only thing that makes them be more tolerant of the slightly more developed sculpts in these is that if you put yourself in the mindset of what figures would they have released after 1985 and like the Power of the Force line, if they had continued at that point, some of the figures there towards the end of the last 17 and the prototypes that they had for figures like the Yarna, the Gargon Dancer, those figures were starting to get more detailed and have more accessories and things like that. So I'm like, okay, I'll buy that line of thinking for a little bit. But I'm with you. I always prefer the simple. Simple is better.
Yeah, but that's a good point. Like once they started getting to figures like Yak Face, like you could tell like wow, these looked a lot better. But yeah, no, these are neat. I do wonder this. I assume it's going to be a 6-pack, like the others. In which case, it is an interesting mix. Like I would almost feel like, maybe. Why isn't there more Cantina aliens, or why aren't there more main characters? But I doubt it's going to be the last retro collection from.
I certainly hope not. And that's always been a thing for me is with the Cantina aliens. Like of all the aliens in that pivotal, iconic scene, we only got 4 of them in the original Kenner run, which is crazy. And especially since 2 out of those 4 were completely not screen accurate at all, and just based on the outfits were completely different. So it's just always been surprising that they didn't go back to the well and do a lot more of those creatures. So
sure, yeah, that'd be great. There's so many they could do. I'd love to see Tonica sisters. I think that'd be pretty epic.
Absolutely.
Cool. So after these, there are some Black Series and TVC reveals from this week. And we'll go ahead and pull these up from my pals over at banthaschool.com. So we're going to start with Black Series because there is this new Shadows of the Empire 2-pack coming, or it actually went up for pre-order today. And it has Princess Leia and Luke Skywalker. Now, if you were collecting back in the 90s and you remember the Shadows of the Empire line, and that, both of these existed in that line. Yeah, I mean, it's cool to see them. I mean, I have almost, I don't want to say trauma because that's like really over exaggerating, but I have a lot of a strong recollection of these figures like holding back figures I really wanted at the time from making their way to the pegs. So I think they look cool, but I'm still like thinking about, I have that lingering like memory of seeing these everywhere I went and not finding like the latest Power of the Force 2 figures at the time.
Yeah, I had like you said, I don't collect much other than the modern stuff, other than the retro series. But I do have a soft spot for this era, because this was the era when people my age who grew up with the originals were finally getting Star Wars stuff for the first time in forever. And I was in my early 20s, and so I was ostensibly a grown up, even though I didn't feel like it. But I had enough distance from collecting toys as a kid where when I saw these on the shelves at Walmart or whatever, the originals, I thought it was kind of cool. And I read the book. I had some of the figures, and it's a mixture, like you said, of I kind of have some PTSD when I look at these for the same reason that you said. But I think it's cool that this and what you're probably about to talk about, I think from that era, it's just kind of cool to throw old school fans like that a bone, I think. So for people who are into this, I think it's super neat. It probably won't go in my collection, but for those who collect this sort of thing, that it's just fun.
Yeah. Yeah, it is fun. It is nice to see them branching away from everything we've been seeing the last few years. Like Disney Plus and new content type stuff. For them to go back and do something like Shadows of the Empire is pretty neat.
Yeah.
Princess Leia has a new head sculpt, so another reason for folks to want to pick this up. More incentive for them to pick it up. Do you think Luke looks a little bit tall, or is it just the armor that's making him look so tall next to Leia here?
Yeah, maybe he's got some lifts in those boots. I don't know. I mean, he doesn't really look too short to be a stormtrooper in this particular picture. That hadn't occurred to me, but now that's all I'm going to see. You're right.
Yeah, he looks like the average height of a stormtrooper.
Yeah, right.
But yeah, it's a neat set. I have no plans on picking it up myself, but it is pretty cool. In addition to that, there's a vintage collection set that went up for pre-order as well today, and this is based off of Heir to the Empire, which, again, it's nice to see something outside of what we usually see for mainline product. Vintage collection gets far less these days than the Black Series does, but we don't really see legend stuff all that often, so it is nice to see that they're doing something for Heir to the Empire.
This one was interesting for me because in the new Disney world, the new Disney canon, like, they've definitely leaned into Heir to the Empire ideas a whole lot, whereas Shadows of the Empire not so much. But in the when I saw this selection of these three figures to represent Heir to the Empire in the vintage collection, I just thought it was interesting that they put Joris C'baoth in there, because the other two have made appearances in the new canon and he hasn't. And I just thought that was kind of an interesting choice because of any speculation that people might have around the next Ahsoka season or the Mandalorian movie. Like, are they going to do a new canon version of that character because we know that Filoni likes to bring in old EU legends ideas and retool them, and so maybe they're gonna throw some of that in there. I don't know. If not, otherwise it's just a neat collection. This one, again, I have a soft spot for it. I don't collect vintage collection, but I might have to pick this one up. This one, I don't know. This one's pretty cool.
Yeah, I went ahead and pre-ordered it a little while ago. The honest truth is that I don't have a lot of feelings for this. The Timothy Zahn trilogy, I've never bothered to read it. I know I'm a horrible Star Wars fan. It was kind of before my time, to be honest. And I just never really, as a kid, I knew that those books were out there, and I knew that they were not written by George Lucas. And I think as a kid, that kind of put me off a little bit, because it didn't, even at the time for me, it really didn't seem like, okay, well, it's not really canon, right? It's not part of like the actual film. So at the time, I was kind of a stickler for, it had to be from George Lucas.
Sure.
I wouldn't say I feel exactly that way now, but at the time I didn't. And so I mean, I enjoy seeing it. I'm happy for folks that wanted to see Heir to the Empire figures in TVC, but it's just not really like my cup of tea. That being said, again, I pre-ordered it because when it comes to TVC, I generally pre-order everything, or at least 99% of everything, I'll say. But yeah, I mean, I think for what these are, they do look nice. It's nice that they're doing, these characters. Two of them are basically just very easy for them to do because they're just like repaints and slight retools.
Yeah.
And then the other guy, I don't know how much of him is completely brand new, but
I don't know.
Yeah, but I mean, cool. Maybe this will finally persuade me to look into those books when and if I ever have time to do that.
I mean, I read them when they first came out and enjoyed the heck out of them, but I mean, that was a million years ago. So I revisited them recently, just in the graphic novels version, the comic versions of them, because I did a series of retro style characters from that series, and I needed some visual reference points that, other than just what I imagined when I read the novel originally. And I mean, knowing that it's all been wiped off the slate of canon, it was I still found it still found it entertaining. But I don't know how much of that was nostalgia for when I read it the first time versus it actually holding up and being good.
Sure. Yeah, that makes sense. The cards on these do look really nice. I do like the imaging that they they used here. Thrawn, pretty neat. I do like the animated sort of aesthetic.
Yeah.
This one's interesting, Captain Paleon, because they said in the little video they put up that they tried to source him to his appearance in The Mandalorian. So the likeness and everything comes straight from that. But yeah, I mean, when I get this, that's where he's going to go. He's going to go to the Mandalorian shelf anyway. So, but yeah, not too shabby. So that's Hasbro Star Wars. Not a ton, but a few little things here and there to discuss. And I'll do a run through the comments, seeing what folks are saying about these. Let's see. So Adam says that Walrus Man was one of the first figures that he got as a kid and still loves him.
Me too, man. Still love that Goofy figure. Love it.
Yeah, it is fun. Britt says, I'm actually most excited about Leia with the new head sculpt. I held off on the archive one because I didn't love how it looked and my waiting had paid off. And sometimes that happens. Sometimes if we wait, it pays off.
I saw a side-by-side comparison of those head sculpts today. And this is definitely an improvement for sure.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I saw that too. Much better. Sometimes it pays off to wait. Other times we have to pay more for having waited when we go to eBay to pick stuff up. Runner Base says the set is fire. Peak Obi-Wan, this is my villain origin story. Shadows is my jam, but wrong scale. 375 for life. And that he pre-ordered today before his Pulse membership runs out, but it's a cool set and they are reasonably priced. Runner Base asking, did they say when these are estimated to start shipping? Pulse says that it is May 2025. So 6-ish months off, but who knows? They like to pull these things where they dump everything all at the same time, so maybe it'll be earlier. Who knows? Yeah. Anyway, 172.29. How's it going? I was on the fence about these because I never read the books, but knowing that they're based off Mando likenesses, I will pick them up. And Adam says, yeah, it was a 9-year wait between Return of the Jedi and the first Heir of the Empire novel. It was nice to have something to read.
I remember when they came out feeling this optimism, like, oh, does this mean they're going to make more movies? And then it took quite some time before that actually happened. And it wasn't those. It wasn't based on that.
Right. It wasn't. And yeah, Chad says that he's checking out your amazing Walrus Man figure.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yeah, and we're going to talk about your customs here in just a moment. So, but we're going to shift gears here. We're going to step away from Star Wars, and now we're going to talk a little bit. We're going to talk a little bit about Captain EO. All right, Captain EO, because I see a kitty cat. I love it.
He loves to make an appearance. Anytime I do a video call, he's there.
Nice. My dog is actually sleeping right now underneath my desk.
Nice.
Where she likes to, she's usually here for like 99% of stream. She likes to just hang out there. Nice. Anyway, Captain EO. So Captain EO was a 3D film at Disneyland and at other Disney parks. I believe it opened it was in 1986, that Captain EO?
I believe so. Yep.
Yeah, so Captain EO, partnership between George Lucas, Francis Ford Coppola, and Disney, coming together to put together Captain EO, which, it's made similarly to the original trilogy as far as like the way they did all the props and the way that they did the miniatures and the vehicles and all that. But it had the innovation of 3D being added to it in the way that it was put together. And it also had in-theater special effects that added to the experience of seeing it at Disneyland. And so it ran for quite a while. I think it was there maybe close to like 10 or 11 years before I think Honey, I Shrunk the Audience replaced it. And then it returned back, I believe, in 2010 for a few more years before then once again disappearing. So it's one of those things that, if you went to the Disney parks, anywhere during that era, there's a good chance you may have experienced it. If not, you may have seen it on YouTube, because it is on YouTube, not quite in 3D as it was in the theater, but it is still out there to see. And we're talking about Captain EO for a couple of reasons. We're talking about it because, well, there are some tie-ins to Skeleton Crew that are very exciting for me as a Disney, a Star Wars, and a Captain EO fan. To see that intersection of those three things just makes me very, very happy. And then also because, CJ, you have put together a group of Captain EO figures that you are looking to be selling on online, I think on your Etsy page in the near future.
That is correct. So I have not historically been a Captain EO fan. I knew about it, but I hadn't, full disclosure here, I had never seen the whole thing. And I thought that I didn't think that a good enough to watch copy was really like available out there to see. And I didn't really think about it. And then I had somebody ask me if I'd ever considered making Captain EO figures, and I was like, no, that's so far down the priority list. There's so many other sci-fi properties or 80s sitcoms or whatever that I'd rather do. And then Josh Izzo, who I've become friends with online. He's a well-known custom figure painter and artisan, who honestly, when I first started getting into custom figures, I used to use pictures that he had posted of some of his custom figures as inspiration for the way that I would put together mine or paint mine, just for my own enjoyment, not to sell or anything or to share with anyone. And so, we had stayed in touch, and one day he just reached out and was like, would you be interested in partnering and doing some Captain EO figures? And because it was him, and I know him and trust him and his work and everything, I was like, all right, dang it. I'll go hunt it down on YouTube. And it's a terrible quality version on YouTube. But, so for source material, in terms of like putting together the normal reference images that I would pull together when I'm digitally sculpting something, it was really kind of challenging to do with that quality. But I kind of fell in love with how ridiculous it was and how over the top and how just so it fit so perfectly in that time period that I can't believe that I never saw it. And I was kicking myself for that. And I wrote back. I was like, yeah, man, absolutely. I'm into this. Let's just dive in. So he gave me like a wish list of the characters, which was all of the main ones really. And then kind of gave me some creative guidance on poses and how to, what outfits and what different versions and things like that he'd like to see. And we did a back and forth for a few months. And this was before, as far as I know, unless he had secret insider information, we didn't know about all of the Skeleton Crew tie-ins at that point. It was just something that we wanted to make. And so then as we got closer and, Skeleton Crew trailer and images started popping up and we started seeing references to it, like it all just kind of came together. And we got all of them out for everybody to see, I guess last week, or actually over the weekend was the last post, I think. And I'll be putting some up for sale in January. So that's the history of it.
Yeah, that's super exciting. I cannot wait. I do intend to pick up every single one.
Awesome.
I will say that I've never really painted action figures, so I'm terrified of that part of it.
Well, I have good news on that front. The bad news is that I like to paint figures. I paint a lot of figures, but I don't have the time to paint figures to sell and still keep up the volume of sculpting and design work that I do. But the good news is that fortunately there are some dudes out there who I've connected with on Instagram who they don't have the digital sculpting chops, but they're excellent painters. And so customers of mine who reach out and say, I want, I can't paint. Do you sell fully painted figures? I say, unfortunately, no, but you can buy the unpainted kit from me and then I'll ship it directly to one of these guys and they'll paint them up for you. So if you're terrified of your, obviously there's an additional cost to that, but if you're not confident in your painting skills, it's definitely another good option to have.
Yeah, no, that's a great option to have. I painted a few dinosaurs, like the Mattel dinosaurs. I repainted them and I put up like YouTube videos of them, but I've never done like little action figures. And that's what scares me is that, they're they're smaller, and like I know that I would ruin it. I just know I would. So
That's
yeah.
practice. You got to practice and a lot of patience too.
Yeah, definitely.
But it's fun. Like it's kind of become the thing for me. Like, like you imagine an old man sitting there with his train set, or like his little Civil War soldiers setting up a diorama with his little, glasses down. Like this is my generation's version of that. And people who like to sit there and paint figures, it can be a very relaxing thing, unless you're a perfectionist and it drives you crazy. But it can be that was what I did before I started designing them for other people, is I just really enjoyed going down to my workshop after a long day of work and other things, and just painting some stuff. I found it very relaxing. So it's a fun little thing to do.
Yeah. Let's start by pulling up the images of the figures themselves. So you mentioned those a little while ago. So I want to show those to everybody here. And you mentioned that Josh was doing the painting on these, and these are the images here from his Instagram page. So I'll go ahead and we'll start with Captain EO. So these are 3 3/4 inches. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. Yeah. So I love that they're in scale with vintage Star Wars.
Had to be.
And they look they totally look like Kenner. Like if Kenner was making Captain EO figures like in the late 70s, early 80s, like this is totally what they would look like. So I got to give you props for that. Like these are like spot on.
This was a case where like with a face as iconic as Michael Jackson's and as recognizable, I wanted it to look like him. But to your point earlier about the quality of the sculpts, like it couldn't look too much like him, or it wouldn't fit in with vintage Kenner figures. But I think we ended up with a nice balance of being recognizable without it being too detailed there.
Yeah, absolutely, I agree. And I love the detailing on his outfit. There's a lot of little intricacies that you sculpted in there, and Fuzzballs, just seeing him there on his shoulders is a great touch. It's great to see him included too.
Oh yeah, had to. And that was one where Josh and I went back and forth a couple of times, like how much detail do I put in the outfit? And because there's a lot of little bits and bobs in there, and I did, again, just kind of a good balance of not too much, not too little. And then Fuzzball, we knew he had to be in there. I originally had an idea that I would sculpt the figure once, and then I would have like a rotating an articulated tail, and that it would rotate so that he could either kind of like sit on the ground, or he could kind of sit up on the tail, or it could be twisted around and wrap around Michael's neck. But that didn't work out. It was a pain, and it was too fragile. It would have broken if I tried to turn it. And so you'll see in the subsequent slides here how we ended up kind of addressing the Fuzzball issue.
Yeah, I know that's a great touch. I love that you can put him on his shoulder. So let's see. We also have Hooter right here, and Hooter just looks like really adorable. Yeah, he looks
probably the easiest of all of them, just because he's kind of a Max Rebo style blob. Mm-hmm. So it was pretty easy.
Yeah, he looks great. He looks really great, and the coloring on him too. I gotta say, like that's like, see, that's I'm envious of that. Like I know that there's no way I would be able to paint it to look that good.
Josh does a great job of picking very Kenner-esque color combos. That whether they're on these figures and other ones that he's done, I've seen he keeps it very, very simple, because Kenner wouldn't have used 42 colors on a figure, and but also like bright and vibrant, to where they really, like if they were on a card in a store in 1986, they would have popped off the shelf.
Yeah, no, I can imagine that. Let's see. So we also have here, this one is Heidi and Odie. And yeah, again, I mean, just these creatures, I think were one of the most fun aspects of Captain EO, was that it was him, but he was like the one like human, like in the crew, and then everybody else was like a robot or an alien. And they look incredible.
These characters they reminded me when I was I had to look at way too many pictures of these characters and screen grabs to do the sculpting, and they kept reminding me of one of like the old animatronics that you would see at like Chuck E. Cheese or Showbiz Pizza, like the way that the puppeteering was done in that. Like it just looked like that. It was just it was so perfect for that time period.
Yeah, I can totally see that. Yeah. Let's see. We have Major Domo and Minor Domo right here. And yeah, again, spot on, like the sculpting, like the likenesses, really, really good.
Thank you. This one was a pain in the butt, to be honest. Mainly because we had to, and I see Josh has him on a stand there. He's hard to balance because of that peg leg. And I was determined to not modify the design in any way to make him balance better that would take away from the peg leg aesthetic, because I just love it so much. I didn't want to fatten it up too much. I wanted to keep it like that. I'm glad I did. I think it ended up looking good.
Totally. Have you seen the variation of a Major Domo from the Disney parks when they did the whole Captain EO unveiling with?
I did. I saw that, and there was for Heidi and Odie or whatever. I can't always mispronounce their names, but there was a variation of them too in those costumes where they had like a bandolier or a strap or a bag or something. I can't remember. And so we went back and forth a couple of times about like what we considered to be official visual source materials and what wasn't, because they are a little different.
Yeah, no, I think sourcing them from the likenesses from the film was definitely the right call. Another thing I noticed about this one, I think the image is in here too, is that you can plug Minor Domo into his back. Is that correct?
Yes and no. We toyed with that, but we couldn't come. I from a sculpting perspective, I couldn't come up with a way that you could put him in there and have him stay without it being too bulky and big on his body. So we basically just did multiple versions. So there's a version of Minor with the short arms, retracted arms, and then one with the arms out. And then Major Domo actually has him hard sculpted into his back.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, if you have them on the shelf, you're probably going to have them facing forward anyway. So having Minor Domo off to the side makes be the best way to display.
Yeah. Plus, like I said, balance on that guy was a bit tricky. So I kind of used him as a counterweight.
Yeah.
On the backside anyway, honestly.
Yeah, no, that's pretty brilliant. Here we have the Supreme Leader. Yeah, this one's a lot of fun too. Like I was each day that these images were coming out, like I started looking forward to like, oh, is there going to be one today? And like just seeing them, like I was waiting for Supreme Leader and like seeing her here, like, yeah, she looks great.
This one was tough too, because when we first started talking about this character, you know, in the film, you know, she's hanging. She looks like the Borg queen. She's like suspended from all of these tubes and everything's coming off of her, and like you don't even really see her whole body in any of the shots, but she's got this very kind of Wicked Witch hand posture, you know, with the nails and everything in the film. And so we wanted to capture that, and Josh gave me he was directing that, because I had much more kind of Kenner-esque style hands, you know, the regular, like, you know, kind of cup hands, and he was like, no, more like, you know, Wicked Witch, or, you know, think of her like, you know, maybe shooting lightning, like that kind of thing. And once I changed the arms to that, it just made a ton of sense, and it all just kind of came together. And then the tubes, I think he said he used the alien the reaction alien figures as a reference point, how they did like some of the tubes and pipes and such on that. And once I saw that, it kind of clicked of how we could address it, make it look kind of like a tube dress, and that did the trick. Not easy.
That's really cool. And I see the Angelica Houston likeness there. Like it's,
I mean, you barely see the Angelica Houston likeness in the film. She's got so much makeup on.
I know. It's pretty wild. But yeah, no, this is great. But then you have her transformed version after Captain EO comes in and saves the day. So I love that you did this too, because, you know, you could have just stopped at the Supreme Leader, but then you did this one too, and I think that's really awesome.
Oh yeah. Somebody suggested after we had done these, somebody in one of the comments had suggested that we could have done it like, and I'm going to blank on the action figure series from the 80s right now, but the name of it, but you might remember the ones that had like two faces, like you'd flip them around and it was like good and evil or something, and I can't remember what they were called. Somebody in the comments might know, but that would have been another fun way to do it if we had wanted to go in that direction. But at the end of the day, I just felt like her outfits were so extravagant in both of those. Like, so there's so much opportunity for bright colors and everything that there was no way we weren't going to do both versions at that point. So, especially because this one, you can actually tell it's Angelica Houston.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, it looks really nice. Yeah, I love the little dangly bits there of the outfit, how it just kind of like how it hangs there like that. That's cool.
Again, that was Josh's idea, because at first I was like, are we gonna do like a soft goods thing here, because she's wearing a very flowy thing in the film, and he suggested this, and it kind of attaching it to her bracelets like that, and it really worked out well.
Yeah, super cool. There's another Captain EO here, and this is the jacketless version. So he's just got his I don't even know what you call it, because it's kind of like a rainbow, but if you watch the Captain EO, like it lights up, right? It's like some sort of a detail like that.
It's a funky cool shirt, but it's
yeah.
In the film, if I remember right, he only, like, when he does his Michael Jackson thing and like kind of like rips his jacket, and you see part of it but not all of it, but in a lot of the behind the scenes photos you see the full shirt, and it was just too cool of a design not to do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I remember when Captain EO came back, I think it was in 2010.
Mm-hmm.
Like they had a big like thing, and I remember going like on opening night, because I missed the original run. I wasn't I wasn't around, like, well, I didn't live in SoCal, as a kid. So I remember they sold this shirt, and I bought one. I might still have it somewhere, but they sold like the actual like this shirt, and so I would wear it sometimes when I go to Disneyland. But
awesome.
Yeah, and they had some other merchandise too, and I think I still have some of the plushes, like for Fuzzball and for,
they did have a Fuzzball. Remember that?
Yeah, and Hooter. I have both of those still.
Nice.
But yeah, let's just we had a close up there. Look at the head sculpt, because the head sculpt looks really good.
Thanks. Again, Michael Jackson, but not too Michael Jackson,
Right. right. Just in the spirit of Kenner. And there's the two of them side by side. And yeah, I mean, I need both, right? Like I can't just have one of them. Like it's gonna have to be both of them in the collection.
Well, I think enough people will just based on how many DMs and emails I've gotten since Josh started posting these photos, I feel like there's going to be a lot of people wanting these, and so my plan is to come up with there are going to be people who just want Captain EO with Fuzzball. I'll sell those as a pair, and then there are going to be definitely be people who want the whole set. So if I'll just make that available too for people who want to buy the whole thing, and I always do discounted prices for sets like that. So you're not the only one that wants both versions.
Let's see. So there was an image here too. This one right here, where you see, the crew together, and this one made me happy to see, because I start thinking of the possibilities of when I display them, and how that's going to look, and it's just great to see the group shot with all the characters here.
The first image here is just like the crew of the ship, and then I think the last image in this carousel is there's the different versions of Fuzzball I was talking about earlier. So I did 3 different versions, and one of them, if you just want him by himself, then he can kind of fly on that stand. Nice. And then now that I saw his appearance in Skeleton Crew, I kind of want to make a little cage also, and sell a version of him, maybe the one with the curled up tail there, of him in a cage too. It's a little too tempting for me to do one of those, but this was how we solved that issue. So.
Yeah, that would be really cool to see. Just a ton of fun, honestly.
Seeing them all together. So I don't even have I don't have painted versions of these here at my house in my collection yet. Josh painted a set for me, and they're going to be arriving soon, hopefully, because I can't wait to display them myself. But seeing them all, here's this shot. Seeing them all in this last shot together and painted made me so happy, because the color choices and the way that the palette is there, and even just the way that he arranged them in his display right here, like it's just so vibrant, and just really, to me, like it brought the sculpts that I did, it really brought them to life. And without those awesome vibrant paint choices, they'd be a lot more boring. So it's really cool to see them all together like this for the first time.
Yeah, it is. They look really cool. Super, super cool. So in addition to these, well, I guess first of all, you said these you're expecting January probably is when they would be put on your store.
Yep, January.
Okay.
And I don't have an exact date yet, but I'm gonna build up a little stock, because it takes a minute to get these things printed and assembled and prepared and everything. And I want to make sure that people who do want to get them painted, that the painters are on standby, ready to rock. So nice. I just knew that I wouldn't be able to. One thing is, there's no way I could fill orders this close to Christmas, before Christmas. And so just kind of starting in January seems like a nice way to go for everybody.
Yeah, definitely. And there's one bonus shot here of Luke and Captain Neo. So cool to see them one next to the other. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and jump off of here, and I'm going to jump over to your page, your Instagram page, because you also have a lot of other stuff you do beyond Captain Neo. So you mentioned you started doing this like during like 2020. Was that correct?
More like 2021 or 2022 is when I started actually digitally sculpting and selling 3D prints and such of my own.
Nice. Well, you have a lot of like Star Wars inspired type things. Like I saw this Teen Wolf one earlier, and I was just
that was just, I don't know why I wanted to do a teen Wookiee. It just, for some reason, I was struck by, I know what it was, is I saw a Teen Wolf Super 7 action figure, and I was like, I can mash that up with a Chewbacca and it would be hilarious. So I just did it.
Yeah, that is funny.
But I like doing these days with Star Wars stuff. I like doing the things that are kind of on the periphery. So like the Billy D. Williams with the Colt 45, I did, from the old commercials. I did that. I did all of the Star Wars holiday special characters. So there's a lot of that. I did this guy, the Nick the Lounge Singer, Bill Murray thing there. Just, ridiculous stuff like that. Did a Mac Tonight figure.
Yeah, that's great too.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, these are all excellent. Yeah, here he is, Nick the Lounge Singer. That is fun.
There's my version. It's funny. I did a series of these over the last 6 months just for the heck of it, where I did like what I thought my take on the retro collection would be, and so I removed the weathering, I minimized the retro collection sticker, and I just did a collection of. I did one for each film, I think, maybe two for A New Hope, where the characters that I would like to see if they were to do box sets.
Yeah, no, these are great. This is what I would love to see retro collection do. Is like,
which I hope that seems to be. I mean, based on that new collection that they released, I mean, seems like they're moving in that direction. At least, I mean, it seems that way. I hope that this isn't just a one-off. So
yeah, I love that you have Fozek in there.
Oh yeah.
That looks great. Like that card. I mean, Hasbro did this one for TVC like back in like 2011, 2010, a long time ago. But this looks a lot better. Like the film out image that you used here looks a lot better than what they did.
And just getting that, one of the things in Steve's presentation that also was awesome is the easy peel stickers that they're going to do. Like, yeah, I like loose figures, so I rip open the retro figures anyway. But for people who display them in the card, being able to pull those giant stickers off is going to be great for them.
Yeah, it's going to be a nice option to have. I'm kind of mixed on the weathering. Like at first I never really cared for all the weathering that they put on there, artificial weathering, because it just, it doesn't look very natural. But you know, I guess they want to differentiate it from actual vintage.
Yeah.
These I remember very, very clearly getting these with a Happy Meal back in the day.
You know, those things, it's funny. I didn't have those when I was a kid, but I think I was a little too old when those came out. But my son, uh, he ran across some of those in like my aunt's old toys that she had for her kids or something. And when he would, and when my son was like 6 or something, and he became obsessed with them, and he thought they were, and he's like, Dad, you got to get me some of these, you know, McDonald's Transformers. And to him, like, he has no concept, just like, or at the time he had no concept, just like when he looks at my toys in my collection, any toy that exists, that he just thinks you should be able to go to the store and buy it. And so I had to explain, like, you can't just go to McDonald's and get these toys are not in the Happy Meals anymore. And so I ended up going on eBay, and I bought a whole bag full of them and gave them to him for Christmas that year. And so I still have them here at the house, and they're so funny, they're so ridiculous.
Yeah, they are a lot of fun. Some of the recent stuff, like I saw this one yesterday. So okay, so the Beetlejuice stuff is very exciting to me as well, because, well, you know, we know that Kenner did, you know, their line, and there were a lot of omissions. Like, there was a lot of stuff they never got around to doing for whatever reason.
Like all the female characters.
Exactly. So to see you going back and filling in those gaps is really, really cool to see.
Well, I wanted to do something I like that it's a different scale than vintage Star Wars. So being able to play in that sandbox is fun. And also, like, I always loved the original film, but I was a little too old I never bought any of the toys. I knew they existed, but I wasn't into them. And when Beetlejuice started coming out, I got super hyped for that and really did a deep dive into all the old Kenner toys. And that's when I realized how do you not make a Lydia Dietz figure? I know the attitude at that time was that boys just wouldn't buy girl figures, but now for collectors, like, I want one with my Beetlejuice toys that I now have, because of course I have them all now. I couldn't resist, but I want Lydia and Delia and all of Delia's weird sculptures. You know, gotta have them all. So yeah, so Barbara's the first one, and I think I'm gonna do Charles Dietz, but yeah, I mean, mostly I'm just doing the ladies. You know, Barbara, Lydia, and Delia, just so that, I mean, we gotta have them.
Yeah, I love it. It's awesome. Even now, like, you see NECA and you see like SH Figure Arts and Mezco doing like Beetlejuice stuff, but they're still not doing any other characters. Like, they're only focusing on Beetlejuice, which is interesting.
Yep.
It's really too bad. But I mean, even during the Kenner days, like, they did like Otho, right? Which is really weird and random, but like, at least they expanded outside of just Beetlejuice, but like, that's all they're doing now, which is.
They did Otho, and they did the, like, shrunken head safari guy, which was just an odd choice. I mean, except that, I mean, it's a funny character, and it had play value, I guess, with the head that popped off and it looked like his head shrank, but still, it was just an odd choice.
Right. Yeah, well, these are cool. I think this one is she's up already, isn't she? On your
This one is now available as of
Etsy.
Like yesterday, I think. Yeah.
Nice. I think I'm gonna pick her up.
Thanks.
Yeah, no, lots of good stuff. You know what would be neat to see, and you know, I know you're already doing all kinds of stuff, but one of the lines that I really loved too was the Kenner Jurassic Park line, like back in the day, and I still enjoy it, you know, quite a bit. Like, but there's a lot of figures there they didn't do John Hammond, they didn't do Lex, you know, Tim's sister. They didn't, you know, there's several that they didn't do that they could have done at the time that would have been interesting to see. Anyway, I'm just
another series that was past my time when I was a kid, but I loved the films, and look back on the series, like, those were really cool figures. I wish they had done more, definitely. But there's no shortage of vintage lines that either didn't exist or were kind of incomplete. That's why I did Mork and Mindy, because they released a Mork figure, and there was no, you know, Mork in his rainbow suspenders, and there was no Mindy. I'm like, you got to have a Mindy. So it's just things like that where I can take something that's already existing and just add to that to where it's I'm not starting from scratch. Those are almost as fun as ones where I start from scratch, like the Captain EO series. So
yeah, that's just wrong. Like, how could they not have made Mindy? But
no, Mindy. I mean, come on. Yeah, crazy.
Anyway, so I do want to pull up your store just to show everybody where it's at. So you're on Etsy. Is Etsy the primary place that you're selling on?
Etsy where I sell the prints, yeah. And so and also like I mean, Etsy's just the easiest because people can find it easily. People who are searching for vintage toys and things like that. But I also people can DM me on Instagram or shoot me an email, and with special requests, or if somebody wants to place like a bigger order and maybe want to save a little money or not pay Etsy fees or whatever, then you can order directly from me too. But Etsy is the main way.
Okay. Yeah, sounds good. Have you tackled? I know so many people have done them, but I have to ask: have you tackled the Tonica sisters on?
I have. Yep.
Okay.
I have. Yeah. So I think myself and my friend Mark at Trash Compactor Customs, he has his version. Both of us sell them as 3D prints, and then of course, Stan Solo has factory made plastic ones that I believe are based on Trash Compactor's versions, if I remember correctly. So there's no shortage of options for people who want to get the Tonica sisters in their collection.
Okay. Well, I may need to hit you up for those because you probably know about the whole Tonica sister figure thing, right? I assume.
The Tonica sister figure thing? No, maybe I don't.
Time for Tonica, that whole. Did you hear about that campaign, Time for Tonica, where there was a petition and there was like websites like pushing for?
Oh yes, yeah. Didn't one of the Tonica sisters, the actresses, didn't she like weigh in on that or something? Am I making that up?
You're not making that up. I was actually behind that whole movement.
Oh, you were? Okay. Well, there you go.
Yeah, no. Their surviving sister, because there were two, obviously they're sisters, right? One of them passed on in I think 2007, and the other one was just nowhere to be found. She didn't do any movies after a certain point, and she was just nobody knew where she was at. So it took a lot of like homework and research and deep digging and conversations with all kinds of people, but I tracked her down finally, like in 2017, I want to say is when that happened. And so I got her story. I got her, for my Cantina Chatter podcast. I got her on, and she hadn't been interviewed since the 70s about Star Wars. And so she got to share the whole thing about why there weren't Tonica Sisters figures. And of course, we know now that, she did finally sign this year with Lucasfilm. Okay. And those figures are finally happening after 40 some years.
That is so cool. I had no idea you were behind that whole thing. That's awesome.
Yes, with help from my friends, of course. But
very cool. Love it.
Yeah. So anyway, I may need to hit you up about the Tonicas at some point.
Sure.
Cool. So this is the store right here, and I do have links down in the description, so folks can go in and they can find your Instagram, they can find your store. I think we put your Facebook in there. And I think I saw earlier you were also on Blue Sky, right? I think you just
joined Blue Sky today, just kind of for the heck of it. So
yeah, so lots of Star Wars options here. There's definitely lots of I love how you did Baron. That's hilarious.
I just I had to make that smug character, I made a Mon Mothma, an Andor version of Mon Mothma, and I mean I couldn't make her and not have her silly house husband.
Right. Yeah, that's a good way to put it. Yeah, but lots of Star Wars options, and Star Wars is the main thing that this channel covers more than anything else. So definitely hit up CJ, you guys, on the links down below. All right, so we have another segment here we want to talk about, and that's Skeleton Crew, because Skeleton Crew is the Disney Plus series of choice that is currently airing on Disney Plus. And we just got episode 3 yesterday, which I assume you probably saw. Is that correct?
Correct. Okay.
So I know I said it last week, but I've just been having a blast with this series. It's just been fun. It's just been, it doesn't have to connect to any other pre-existing Star Wars. Like you just come into it and just enjoy it. And it feels great. Just a great feeling piece of Star Wars entertainment. But how are you feeling about the series thus far?
I love it. I think the haters need to just shut up about this one because, like, I keep seeing people, the whiners online. Hey, everybody doesn't have to like everything, right? And one of the key things that I keep hearing people whine about is that it isn't Star Wars. It feels like Stranger Things in space, or it's Goonies in space, or it's it's why couldn't you have just made this and not tie it to Star Wars? Blah blah blah, all of that. And what they're saying is not that it's not Star Wars, but that it's not their Star Wars. And every version of Star Wars means to them. And for me, like, I really like serious Star Wars. I love Andor. Andor's great. Rogue One is great. That's serious Star Wars. This is fun Star Wars. I like this too. And I like it because it tickles all the nostalgia nerves in my body. It is Goonies in space, and that I think it's fun. It's nice to have fun in Star Wars, and it's nice to see kind of a different approach to it. And my kids love it. It's something I can co-watch with my kids. Like, we watched the latest episode together this afternoon, and they enjoy it for kind of some of the same reasons and some totally different reasons that I do. So I think it's great. It's just a lot of fun, and everybody needs to not take it so seriously.
Totally. I think a lot of people, like, they've been so vocal online about things they don't, all the Star Wars, that how it's horrible and they hate this and they hate that. And I think they've just built a brand around that. So when there's actually something that, they might actually like, they can't even admit that they like it because it would go against their brand.
It'll like break their brain, like the number of people that I saw saying, I tried to watch it, but I only got 15 minutes in or whatever. I'm like, how do you approach life like that? Like, what are you even doing? You want to be honest? If I had judged the Phantom Menace off the first, I would have walked out of the theater after 15 minutes, because I remember seeing the Phantom Menace and being like, this is weird, guys. This doesn't feel like Star Wars to me. But it was just different Star Wars. So you're right. They kind of build this outrage brand around it. And, it's almost like they don't know what to do if something is decent. So
yeah. But no, it's been fun. Episode 3, I think, it was a great follow up to the first 2 episodes, and I'm not going to go into spoilers or anything, but I really liked, like, the new character that they introduced. I thought that was just really, really fun.
That was a lot of fun. Absolutely. That whole scene, the set piece, if you will, and the scenery outside before that set piece, it was very, from a cinematography perspective, it was just very well done. I thought it was very cool.
Yeah, it absolutely was. I can't wait for more. It's just like, I know it's weekly, but it's like, I gotta wait.
Can we mention a light spoiler from last week, or is that
sure? Okay. Yeah.
Just talking about the like niche Star Wars stuff, the holiday special references, in addition to the Captain EO references.
Oh yeah.
That got me. I'm a sucker. I love. It was a little bit of kind of pointless nostalgia they put in there, and it was just a little bone for the old school fans, and I thought it was great. It was hilarious.
Yeah, that was a nice touch as well, and yeah, I love that they're obviously, the people that directed this and put it together and wrote it are just having that level of fun with it by including those references, because it's nothing that really necessarily adds to the story, but it's nothing that, it doesn't take away from the story either. It's just an extra little touch that, if you know what you're looking at, you appreciate it a little bit more.
It's not distracting.
Right. Yeah. Totally. All right, so I guess we're going to wrap here with our final segment of the evening, and that is new acquisitions, brand new things added to the collections. And my friends here in the chat, let us know what you've added to your collections since the last stream, which I know was only a few days ago on Friday, but we'll call them out at the very end. But yeah, this is new acquisitions here.
Good. New acquisitions.
All right, so CJ, do you want to start us off with a little show and tell?
Sure, real quick. I got something that I always wanted as a kid, and I can't believe that it took me this long to get it. And for people who have like fully complete Star Wars collections, this is not a big deal at all. But I finally got myself an Imperial shuttle that's complete, and it needs it's pristine in terms of cleanliness, but the electronics need some work. But it's nothing that maybe an hour with a soldering iron wouldn't fix. So I'm just I just had wanted one and finally found it for a good price, and I couldn't say no, much to my wife's disappointment. So there's that. And then I also got the Imperial Sniper mini rig, which is another one that is just obscenely expensive to get one of these little tiny hunks of plastic. And I'm so excited that I found one for as dirt cheap as I did. It's almost embarrassing how cheap I got it. Otherwise, I wouldn't have bought it if it wasn't so cheap. But it was missing this piece right here. And fortunately, I was able to look at some reference photos that somebody provided me. And I recreated it digitally and then 3D printed a replacement. So hopefully someday I'll actually get the real official piece. But for now, it'll certainly do the trick. And then finally, this just came in the mail today. It wasn't supposed to be released until February, but for some reason it showed up early, which is this. I know it's not Star Wars, but it's this Ghostbusters pack of the O-ring, like 3 3/4 inch figures that goes perfectly with the Plasma Series Ecto 1 that came out a little while ago. Haven't even got a chance to mess with those yet since they just came today, but super excited about those. That's about all I've gotten recently.
Awesome. Yeah, well, thank you for sharing those. So I've gotten a few things. My dog has decided just to get on top of my new acquisition, so I'm going to try and pull those out. Those Ghostbusters figures, I haven't opened them yet, but I got those in too last week, and they look cool. I can't wait to get them into the Ecto 1. But another retro type thing. So Playmates, they've been putting out their Ninja Turtles, their retro Ninja Turtles for a long time now, where, every now and then you get something old coming back, in some cases multiple times over. So I got the latest 4-pack. This came from Amazon, and it has 4 figures. So we got Rat King right here. The set has Casey Jones, which this is the one that I was like really looking forward to, because I did have this one as a kid, and I always liked how he had the bag with the golf club and the baseball bat. It has Slash, which is nice to see because they haven't re-released Slash since like 2009 or so. And then the last one in here is Mutagen Man.
Those are so cool.
Yeah. These are just fun. Like it was when you look at some of these old toy lines, like you really just appreciate like the absurdity of them and just like how wacky and silly and wild a lot of these characters were. Like they were, when they were in the shows, they were obviously meant to sell toys, but I mean they were executed like so well and so creatively that it's just a lot of fun to see them.
Of all the toy lines from the 80s I missed out on because I was too old, Ninja Turtles is top of the list. Like they were so funky and fun, and just they're so cool. Love them.
Yeah, they're great. I have a couple of, because I'm all over the place with my collecting. I wish I could rein myself in a little bit more, but I just can't. But hey, that's what I do, right? So got a couple of Hot Toys I want to show. I mostly stick to Star Wars with Hot Toys. I do a little bit of Batman, but I got Chopper from Ahsoka. Chopper just came in a couple of days ago. So I haven't opened him out yet. He's still in the plastic and everything. And then I also got, and I was talking about this on Friday, how like everything's like processing at one time, which is not ideal, but what can you really do? The other one I got here is, I got me Grand Admiral Thrawn.
That's a great sculpt.
Yeah. Came in yesterday. Now I do believe that one other one came in today, but I don't have it for new acquisitions because my delivery did not occur until after I was already live, so I can't show it until next week. So I will hold off on that one. Those are my new acquisitions in the last few days. So now I'll go over to comments and see what folks are adding to their collections. Let's see. Pico B1 says AliExpress clone troopers. They are dope and cheap. Don't pass them up. Okay, I'm not aware of those, Pico B1, but let me know. Send me a message. I'm curious now to see what that's about. Trevor picked up Jabba's Palace Adventure set to run at my throne room display as well as Jod Nawood. I'm never going to get used to that name. That's just a crazy name. Mary says, Hot Toys, Bane, and the Batman Bat Cycle. Very nice. And one of those might be the one that came in today. Maybe. Allison says, latest for my crew is a variant vintage IG-88. Interesting. Britt says, got Mikey and Donatello, IDW comics version from Loyal Subjects. Nice. Trevor says, Weird and Gross was a top feature to late 80s, early 90s toys.
Yes, it was.
Yep. And Dodson says, last weekend at the swap meets, I found 2 comics for $15, Jurassic Park Raptors Attack and Adventures. A friend also hooked me up with the Series 2 Baryonyx and Dino Damage Replacement piece. Very nice. So good acquisitions. Thank you guys for sharing those with us here. All right. Well, it looks like those are all the acquisitions that have been listed here. So CJ, thanks again. It's been a blast having you on. Thank you for coming on and talking about your creations and for sharing your passion for creating customs.
Thank you for having me. It's been a blast. So yeah, anybody in the comments, reach out to me. I love meeting new people. So hit me up on Instagram. Messenger is probably the best place to get at me.
Awesome. And again, we have links down below so you guys can check CJ out on his socials and on his Etsy store. So definitely be sure you do that. And thank you guys as well for hanging out with us tonight. Wednesday night, not our usual night, usually we're Friday night people, but can't do the show this Friday. So I wanted to make sure I got a show in. It's somehow. So Wednesday night it was. We'll be back next week on Friday, the 20th of December, final show of the year with Toy Shiz joining us. And you guys, really appreciate you. Thank you for hanging out with us here in the chat, for leaving your comments, and for taking part in this fun time here in the Cantina. We really appreciate it. No matter where you're tuning in from out in the galaxy, thank you for watching Cantina Social Hour. Be well, be safe. May the Force be with you. We will see you back next week, next Friday, same time, different day on Friday, of course. And we'll be looking forward to it until then. CJ, stay tuned for just a moment. And everyone else, we will catch you next week. Bye, everybody.
Thank you. Thank you very much.